the Nigerian people, global bodies, one of which is the International Monetary Fund, is anxious that the effort geared towards diversification records expected gains, as the country accounts for 35% of the sub-Saharan Africa's gross domestic product. And the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, one of the country's economic and business policy advocacy group, has projected a 0.6% GDP growth for the nation, signaling a likely recovery from the current economic downturn. To realize these potentials which Nigeria possesses, there's been the need to look at various sectors, and the textile mills come into focus. It's an industry which boasts of about 180 textile mills, employing about 1 million people and accounting for 60% of textile industry capacity in West Africa by mid-1980s. But has come to almost a standstill with not much activities.
As a matter of fact, when we say Nigeria economy is in recession, I want to say that the manufacturing sector has been in depression for the last 1 decade now. And the truth of the matter is that Nigeria, that used to be one of the third leading textile producing countries in Africa, only beaten to it by South Africa and Egypt. Today, it's not even among the first 10 countries producing textile. In the late 80s, we had close to almost about 250 textile industries in this country. Textile companies producing all sorts of assorted fabrics, and textile materials. But today, we can proudly talk of 40 textile factories that are functioning. And even out of these 40, on the average, most of them possibly work around 60% capacity in terms of their production. From close to almost about 1 million direct jobs, late 80s. Today, we do have up to 80,000 direct jobs.
One proposed solution was the creation of the 100 billion naira Cotton, Textile and Garment Intervention Fund, with a target of saving over 8,000 jobs and creating over 5,000 new ones, while 38 textile firms have so far benefited from the fund. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria affirms this by saying that the capacity utilization has increased from 29.14% in 2010 to 49.70% as at 2011. The National Union of Textile, Garment and Tailoring Workers of Nigeria appreciates the efforts of the government.
It was supposed to resuscitate the moribund textile industry at a single-digit interest rate, to be managed by Bank of Industries. I think I want to salute the effort of Mrs. Maria Putu, the former managing director of Bank of Industries, for, of course, efficiently disbursing the funds. But you see, most of the problems that we have in the industry, apart from the funding, is the inconsistency in government policy. Before the fund, there was a complete ban on the importation of textile materials into the country, and that was what encouraged manufacturers to access the funds. Hardly had they accessed the fund, government just woke up one day and unbanned the importation of textile material into the country. This was a big blow to some of the manufacturers. In fact, some of them could not cope. They have to shut down operation. So, apart from the funding, which of course, as far as I'm concerned, it was not so much one part of the problems. Because when you say funding, you see, it's not about throwing money at issues. There are other variables, there are other factors that are responsible for the collapse of the industry, for the inability of the industry to survive. So funding is just one out of them. And since government policy that is linked to the funding has not helped the industry in any way, most of them have to close shop, of course, and they felt it would be nice, you understand me, it makes business sense for you to actually import, you understand me, lay off workers, which is our major concern because our members are losing jobs by the day. And lay off workers, convert their factory into warehouses, import goods from China, Asia, Malaysian country, and sell in the retail market. So, as far as they are concerned, it is cost saving. You understand me? But you asked me, has that added to job creation in Nigeria? Has that added to the GDP growth of the country? My answer is no.
The union says after different attempts and policies, it believes that things are changing.
There's now awareness that we can't continue this way. There's now official commitment, at least in terms of policy rhetoric, that we must add value to our abundant natural resources, raw materials, one of which is cotton. Rather than exporting cotton, we need to gin the cotton, we need to spin, we need to weave them, turn them into fabrics. Rather than exporting crude oil, we need to refine them. Rather than exporting iron oil, we need to process them into metals, things to industrialize the country. There is a renewed commitment that there must be beneficiation, to all our abundant raw materials. So there is need for industrialization. I think we have to return back to the basics. I told you before that we were the third largest producer of textile in the 80s. There's no miracle to that, beyond the fact that the founding fathers of Nigeria in the 60s thought we should reverse the colonial pattern of exportation of raw materials and importation of finished goods, because that's exactly what the British were doing with us throughout the 100 years of British colonial rule here. We will produce cotton, export to Britain, and then they will do finished cloth and import it. Export and dump on us.
They also ask that the issue of smuggling be given a special attention.
As I know, virtually all Nigerian cities, on a weekend, that you don't see people in different apparel, different textile materials, going for one social function or the other. The question is, where are they getting those materials from? And the answer is, those materials are smuggled into the country. Go to Oshodi market, go to Kauri market in Kano, go to Aswani market. You see all forms of textile materials. The question is, how did they get into the country? Those materials are not produced locally. They are smuggled into the country. And you see, the way smuggling is going on in the country is unacceptable. So it is not about the penchant, the taste of Nigerians for imported fabrics. But I am saying this, Nigerian manufacturers, Nigerian textile industries are competitive if given the level playing field to perform. You understand what I'm saying? You are in a factory here. This is one of the remaining surviving textile industry that we have in Nigeria. Of course, you've gone around, you see some of the materials that is coming out from the weaving department. This material can compete favorably with the international one. So what are we really talking about? If you talk about individual taste, well, that is another thing entirely. But give people option. You understand me? Once you want to patronize local, they must have the capacity to produce. If these products are in the market, and now it depends on individuals to determine which product to go for and which not to go for.
And while talks are on about policies, business lawyer George Etomi is asking that personnel training and skills acquisition should also be considered.
And the local content is now taking place across industries, from the oil and gas industry, construction, power now, which is one of the latest ones that we're dealing with. And the whole idea is to have Nigerians participate across the entire value chain in any business, so you can develop local skills and ultimately become a more self-reliant economy. Unfortunately, as the numbers show, we still spend a lot of money in export-related expenses, which is sad, including human resources. So I'm hoping that as we march forward, we can take the local content laws, various local content laws, seriously, and then begin to ensure that implementation matches all the desires that are expressed in all those laws. Because most times in Nigeria, it's the lack of implementation that creates the frustration. The laws generally exist, but when you go out to implement it, then there's a problem.
Expanding Nigeria's production frontier affects every sector. Even yours truly, Channels Television, is included, because the federal government has set a target to generate 70% local broadcast content as Nigeria prepares for the digital switch over in June 2017. So I guess we have to toe the line of local content also. Well, that's it on this episode of Big Story. Talk to us on our social media platforms and watch this program whenever you want or through the week. I'm Amy Thompson.